Hello and welcome to today's lesson. I'm your hard-working but indefatigable teacher, Mr. Burton. You will need to watch this video and take notes as you go. You may need to watch certain parts of the video a few times to ensure complete understanding. This is your homework and I will check your notes tomorrow before we get started. I hope you learned something.
Okay, hello and welcome to today's lesson. Today we are taking a good long look at equity. And then we'll quickly finish up with a brief introduction to the income statement and also the balance sheet. So equity, here we go. Equity, what is it?
A balance sheet is a statement of net worth. It's broken up into three sections: assets, liabilities, and equity. A equals L plus E. Meet Joe. Joe goes to the bank and gets a small business loan. The bank gives him cash. On the balance sheet, his liabilities increase by the size of the loan, and his assets increase by the same amount. The balance sheet remains in balance. Joe uses the cash to buy a truck and start his own pizza delivery service. His cash assets decrease, but that's balanced by an increase in his other assets, a new truck. As Joe delivers pizza, the profits are recorded in the balance sheet as retained earnings in the equity section of the balance sheet. The cash from his profit is recorded in the assets section, balancing out. Every month, Joe makes a payment against his loan. He reduces his liabilities by the amount of the payment, and his cash is reduced by the same amount. To find out his business's worth, Joe subtracts liabilities from his assets. This equals the net worth of his business.
Okay, so equity is essentially the value of the business, what the business is worth. And that's why we saw that in the balance sheet, equity is determined by the assets that business has built up, less the debts it has. So if we subtract away liabilities from assets, we're left with the worth of the business, the value of the business, the equity of the business. So we say that in more formal terms, equity is a residual interest in the assets of the entity after subtracting away the liabilities of the business. So it's the amount of assets that the owner has invested in the business, the owner's investment in the business, and it's also called capital. Equity is the amount invested by the owner. Remember, it's not necessarily like a physical investment, because if assets are building up over time, then the owner could be withdrawing those assets, taking cash out of the business. So hopefully you remember previously, assets less liabilities equals equity. Assets less liabilities equals equity. And that is such a key concept here, such a key concept. Equity equals assets minus liabilities. The value of the company, what the company's worth, is equal to the sum of its assets less the sum of its total liabilities. Now we're going to have to look at changes in equity, because equity does change as assets build up, or as liabilities are taken on, or liabilities are paid back. Things change, the equity change. So equity can change during the financial year, and to show these changes, to work out the changes, we can complete a statement of changes in equity. And for a sole trader, it looks like this. So we start with equity, the big heading, capital with the date. And remember, profit from our income and expenses lesson. Profit is determined by income minus expenses. So we start with the initial capital. We add any contributions by the owner. We add any profits for that period. And we subtract any drawings, because remember, drawings are typically cash that's been taken out of the business by the owner, and drawings are treated as a reduction in equity. So the equity is getting smaller the more drawings are taken out. It's treated as a reduction, not as an expense of the business. So we start with equity, and that's the amount of capital at a certain point of time. Across that time period, we look at any contributions by the owner, look at any profits or losses for the period. Profit's going to increase the equity, loss is going to decrease the equity, and then we subtract out any drawings, and that will give us a final capital figure, the equity figure at the point in time we want to measure it from. Let's have a look at a worked example. Okay, we're calculating the profit earned by a business. Commenced business with a cash of $40,000 on the 1st of April 2021. The format is the same. So the capital, $40,000. Her equity at the end of the year was $70,000. She hasn't contributed any more assets to the business, so contribution by owner is 0, and she hasn't taken out any drawings. Here is what the equity looks like. $40,000, contribution 0, drawing 0, at the end of the period $70,000. What is the missing figure? Must be profit of $30,000. So profit is just a change in capital over the year. No other contributions were made. No drawings were taken. Easy to work out.